Welcome to the Vibrant Visibility Podcast. Being visible as a soul-led business owner isn't just about the practical strategies, marketing tips, and tech systems. It's also about the internal systems, the safety of your nervous system, the somatic connection, and the embodiment of being a badass CEO that will support you in all of the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. And I'm here to share all of that with you on this show. I'm your host, Shawnee Arsenault, a registered nurse turned visibility coach and business mentor for heart-centered coaches and healers. I created a six-figure coaching practice in my first year of business and scaled to multiple six figures my second year, all in the middle of getting pregnant with my first baby and becoming a new mama. If I can do this entrepreneurship thing, I know you can too. If you're ready to learn how to be a CEO in a way that feels aligned with your heart, become a lighthouse for the people that you're meant to serve, feel free to authentically express yourself and be a magnet for success, and grow your coaching business in a way that is sustainable and fulfilling, I can't wait to be in your ear along for the ride. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Vibrant Visibility Podcast. I wanted to talk today about something that's really been alive in my space lately, both in my own body and my own life, and in the conversations that I've been having with my clients who are all building like really heart-led, soul-led businesses and trying to do it in a way that actually feels good. And so there's a theme that's been coming up for myself first. And then, of course, I feel like this is always the case, but we are always a mirror for our clients, and our clients are always a mirror for us. And that there's always overlap between what you're experiencing and what your clients are experiencing in some way. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been through like a dark night of the soul, and then I come out of it, and then literally I'm supporting all my clients through their own dark nights of the soul. And it's just, I don't know, it always happens that way for some reason. And I don't think that's a coincidence. But there's been a theme of like masculine versus feminine, and this idea that structure is the enemy of creativity. You know, whenever you are an intuitive being, if you are really tapped into your intuition, if you are very flowy, you always like to kind of go with the flow and follow that nudge whenever it happens, or follow that hit of inspiration whenever it comes. Structure can feel a little bit restricting. It can feel like masculine, very rigid. But I want to offer a like mindset shift around this, around structure and processes and the checklisty type of stuff. Because I think in the coaching space, especially in the space that I've been in lately, where I am leaning a little bit more into somatic work, but I think that it's so beautiful for the structure, for the masculine to be present as well, to hold the feminine, right? And I'm going to explain a little bit about this and like I'm going to go deeper into what this means. This actually stemmed from a conversation that I had with my therapist. And maybe this is TMI, but we were talking about sex. I was talking about my sex life with my therapist, and we were talking about like masculine versus feminine energy, right? And she said something to me that really hit home, and it wasn't hitting home for me just in my personal life, right? In my relationship with my husband. It was also hitting in a sense of like, this can also apply to the energy that we have in business, the masculine and feminine energy that we balance in business and entrepreneurship. And so she said the masculine is the container for the feminine. And as she was going deeper into it, she was kind of explaining different elements of feminine energy versus masculine energy. I mean, I've explored the balance of those two throughout my career, but I don't know, for some reason, her saying it like that hit a different way. And I started to notice the same themes coming up with my clients as well. The clients who are really creative and have all these amazing ideas, and then they feel super chaotic and scatterbrained, and they try to set these systems, these processes up, and then they don't follow them, and then they feel like they're letting themselves down. There's all kinds of things that have been coming up in that way with the clients that I've been working with. And so the mindset shift here is the structure isn't the enemy of creativity. It's the container for it. It's the container for the creativity. So I want to let that land for a moment here, right? Like take that in for a second, let it land in your body. Structure doesn't have to be restrictive. It can feel restrictive depending on how you're looking at it, but it doesn't have to be restrictive. It can, it's not some cold, rigid system built to, choke the life out of your creativity. It's the devoted masculine. We're going to dive deeper into like masculine and feminine and like qualities of both, but it's the devoted masculine presence that holds your wild, intuitive, radiant, creative feminine so that she can move the way that she was meant to move, right? Fully, freely, and with absolutely no need to hold herself back. Okay. And that's actually what I feel like a coaching container can be too, right? I think coaching containers can be feminine, but the container itself, like every coach has a set of processes that they use and how they support their clients. And those processes are like the devoted masculine, the I'm not going anywhere, that grounded, like, here I am for you kind of container to hold that energy that our clients come to us with. Okay, so I hope I haven't lost you. This first piece here, I'm gonna break down kind of the energetics of structure and flow. So I want us to zoom out for a minute and talk about the energies at play here. In somatic work and in life, we talk about masculine and feminine energies, of course. And these are not so much about gender. These are really about polarities, right? It's about how energy moves, how energy wants to move. And whether or not you've said these words out loud, you've likely felt them. You've likely felt the devoted masculine. You've likely felt the wild, creative feminine, right? So let's talk about each one. So feminine, let's start with feminine. Feminine energy is that inner, like, creative wildfire. She's felt in the body. She's, ooh, the tingling in your skin when you get an idea that you can't ignore. She's the one who gets excited. She moves through sensation, through desire, through intuition. Ooh, even like saying these words out loud, like I'm getting a somatic response to tapping into my divine feminine. That feminine energy, she doesn't move in a straight line, right? She doesn't move via a checklist. She spirals. She wants to be delighted. She wants to be surprised. She wants to be touched. She wants to be seen. She wants to be heard. It's crazy that I'm getting like, yeah, I'm getting all of these like somatic responses to talking about feminine energy because for so long, I operated like strictly in the masculine, especially as a nurse, like coming from a nursing background. We don't really get to encourage that feminine part of us to come out because it's very like process procedure. It's very like, this is what you do when this happens. It is a very masculine field because lives are at stake and it's a life or death situation. It's a matter of survival. So feminine energy, when I think of feminine energy, she loves she loves being the center of attention when it's safe to be there, when it's safe to have attention on you. This is not the logical side of our energetic spectrum at all. It's not about productivity. The divine feminine doesn't care about being productive. She cares about the truth under the truth and how that truth feels in your body, right? She's the one who says, I'm going to create something, but I don't know what. I don't know what yet. Or like, I'm craving beauty, I'm craving expression and softness, but everything around me feels so harsh, right? Like that inner craving for something deeper, for something more exciting, for something more creative, but then like also realizing a lot of the rigid external circumstances that you might be in. That's what I think of whenever I think of feminine energy. I know that was a little bit of a tangent. Masculine energy, whenever I think about masculine energy, it's on the total opposite side of the spectrum, of course. It's it's the container. And so in business, that can look like the spreadsheet, the calendar, the launch plan, the to-do list, right? The structure that holds your vision steady. And every successful business has a structure that allows them to be successful, that allows their business to be sustainable. So I think at its best, masculine is devoted. I like to think of dynamics, like, I just think about, like, my husband and I, right? Like, if you're in a romantic relationship with if you're more feminine leaning, if you are a woman or feminine leaning and you're with someone who's much more masculine, it's not about the masculine dominating the feminine, it's about that devotion, that, like, "I'm here for you. What do you need? I'm gonna get you what you need," right? It's about meeting her needs, being there for them, being the grounded, like, "I'm here. What do you need, my love?" And then he builds it. That masculine energy is the builder. He creates the plan. He holds the edge. He tracks the timing. He's very methodical and logical. He's the one who supports. He's the one who's like, we're going to get this out into the world because your brilliance deserves to be seen. Right? Whenever I think of masculine and feminine together, it's like the masculine adores the feminine. There's an admiration there. So you can see where one energy complements the other. The two coexist very beautifully. As women in business, as women, as female entrepreneurs, we tend to resist the structure and we don't need to, right? Here's where things get a little sticky. If you are like most of my clients, or honestly, like me in some seasons, you may have some resistance to structure. You may have some resistance to putting those like processes in place. Like, there are moments where I just wanna go with the flow, I don't wanna have to follow a checklist, I don't wanna have to I just wanna do what feels good, what feels right, what feels intuitive, and that is great, especially if you were someone who has operated mostly in the masculine. It's great. Tapping into that feminine side of you and really exploring more of that intuitive, flowy kind of embodiment is beautiful. So beautiful, right? Like, I also think that we have a tendency to overcorrect. At least I'm just speaking from my own personal experience, like, I overcorrected. As soon as I really started to tap into my feminine energy, I overcorrected, and I almost, like, villainized my masculine side. And if you've ever been in a coaching container, if you've ever had a mentor, if you've ever been given advice for your business, that is similar to, like, just post consistently, or you have to build a funnel, or, like, you have to create a 90-day plan, you have to make a spreadsheet. Like, on the surface, that sounds really simple, but something in your body is, like, tensing, right? Why? Because for so many of us, I think that, especially if we've been in environments where structure was really punitive or used to suppress our natural rhythm, structure doesn't feel safe, right? It feels like control. It feels like pressure. It feels like stripping away the parts of us that feel soft, that feel creative, wild, alive. And yet when we abandon all structure, what happens? We drift. We get inspired and then we lose momentum. We have all of these ideas and then we have no follow through. We start a post and then we never finish it. We wanna launch something, but then we're so overwhelmed before we even begin, so we just don't do it. We freeze. And then we spiral. We start to spiral into things like shame, right? Like, I should have been more organized. I need to be more disciplined. I don't know why I can't just do what I say I'm gonna do. I've even seen some coaches like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe this isn't the path for me. And that is so sad. It's sad if that is the thing, right? Of course, like, if you're not in alignment with running a business, if you're not in alignment with being an entrepreneur, if something else would feel more in alignment, of course, right? Of course, don't pursue building this business if it's not something you actually want. But most of the time, most of the clients that I work with, it is something that they want. And what if the issue isn't you, right? It's not that you're not organized. It's not that you're not disciplined enough. The issue might be that you've been trying to force the feminine to operate without structure, without the masculine. So it's like you're trying to create magic without a container to hold it, right? That would be like asking a river to flow without any banks. You wouldn't get flow, you would get a flood. So here's how this looks in my business. It's kind of a dance, right? Like my feminine is the part of me that gets that creative download in the shower. And she's the one who wants to voice note a client in the middle of the night because something really deep came through or something reminded me of them. She's the one who writes all these like poetic captions and dances in her office and, goes outside and puts her bare feet on the ground when something big clicks in her nervous system, right? That's feminine. That's how my feminine operates. It's it's the one who could stay up until 3 in the morning designing stuff on Canva and having a blast. It's the one who decides to get on a live for no reason and start singing. She's the one who reads the fantasy books and writes fictional stories and doesn't need to make sense of everything. And my masculine is the one who built my Airtable board. Airtable is the software that I use to manage a lot of my back end stuff in my business. He's the one who said, "Let's schedule a podcast episode 2 weeks in advance." He's the one who plans the CEO days so I can go and analyze all of my clients' data, all of my social media stats, right? He's the one who creates like those content batching days, who builds those SOPs, who automates the email sequences so I can breathe, right? He's the one who builds those systems that allow me to not have to think about stuff that doesn't light me up. That's my masculine. When I'm living in alignment, they're dancing together, right? That feminine, that masculine, they're dancing together. The feminine brings the soul, brings the heart, and the masculine builds that bridge to get that soul into the world. Ooh, I just had like a reaction to that. The masculine is the bridge that brings the soul into the world, right? That allows her to feel safe going into the world. Um, hmm. Yeah, I'm just like letting that sit for a moment. So if this is resonating, I'd love to offer you some ways here to really start cultivating this in your own business. And so there's 4 things I'm going to talk about here. The first one, name what your feminine needs, right? Start to ask yourself these questions of like, okay, what lights me up right now? What am I craving in my creative process? What would make me feel more free? What would feel deliciously supportive for me right now, right? Let your body answer, not your brain. Let your body answer. I used to do these podcast episodes in a very rigid way. I used to have a perfectly scripted outline. I used to read right off of it the entire time. I never used to go off topic because I would be so afraid that I wouldn't be able to come back. But it's also because my environment wasn't really prone to me being creative and me kind of talking from the heart. And now, as you guys can see, I am in my cozy office. I have my like fuzzy blanket on me. If you're watching the YouTube video, you can see me with my fuzzy blanket. I've got my iced coffee in front of me. I make it to where it feels comfortable. I make it to where it feels like I'm talking to a friend and my feminine feels safe to speak, right? But it took a little bit of trial and error from my masculine to set this environment up, to have a process for myself that I use to drop into recording a podcast episode. And so this feels deliciously supportive to me. I feel safe right here. Even though I know that this podcast episode is going out to the public, I don't feel nervous or anxious about it at all because I feel safe here, right? And I know that whatever I put out there, whatever comes out of my mouth in this podcast and whatever I put out in there into the world it's safe to be out there, right? So this is what my body needs to feel safe. I don't need to get done up to record a podcast. I don't need to be wearing a cute outfit. I'm literally just in shorts and a t-shirt and Like my hair, I don't know if I brushed my hair this morning. I'm wearing no makeup. Like this feels super supportive for me to be able to put out really high quality content on this podcast. So name what your feminine needs. What is your feminine need to feel free, to feel supported in your creative process? What do you need to feel more creative, right? What structures can you put in place to help set you up for that creativity to flow freely? Second thing is let your masculine serve that desire, right? Once you name what your feminine needs, let your masculine serve that desire. Okay. So once you know what you want, ask yourself questions like, what kind of structure would help me hold this? Is it like a weekly ritual? Is it a set of templates that I can use? I have a process. Every time I sit down to record a podcast, make sure I have my iced coffee. I make sure I have my blanket. I have my, camera set up in front of me and I have my like little notes, my little outline over here. I can see myself on the camera on my computer and I have this like setup to where everything I need is right here. And so all I need to do is speak. What is a system that catches my inspiration before it disappears? Right? The masculine doesn't have to override the feminine. The masculine responds to her. Okay. So if you find yourself being so scattered with all of these different ideas, let's say for like social media content, if you have all of these different ideas for posts that you want to create, and you've got sticky notes everywhere, you've got notes on your phone, you've got things saved inside of folders and Google Docs, and you can't find anything, then it's no wonder that it feels so stressful to create content for your business whenever you're sitting down to create content. It's no wonder. So, what system would feel super supportive for you in capturing those ideas and always having a place to go back to in order to execute? Right? I always have a form for myself. So, maybe I can do like a more technical logistical episode on like the system that I use for my back end, but I use Airtable. Airtable is just like a platform that houses a lot of data and that gives you an opportunity to use that data and view it different ways. Like it's such a cool hub for your business to get a really great overview of what's happening in different areas of your business. If you guys knew everything that I use Airtable for, it's wild. I have everything in there. So I have a form inside of Airtable for every idea that I have. I have a form that captures my content ideas, my podcast ideas, my email campaign ideas. And every time I fill out that form, it brings that data into kind of like a spreadsheet looking setup, but I can use that data for other stuff, right? I can view it different ways. I can start working on building content from whatever I put into that form, right? So it's a system that I have that catches my inspiration before it disappears. And I can be as detailed as I want whenever I have this idea so that whenever I actually go sit down to execute, I'm not lost. Like I know what direction I'm going and I remember why that inspiration hit. So again, because I was noticing when my ideas were hitting, what I needed to capture the idea effectively and be able to use it later, my masculine responded with a system. Here is a system that's going to really support you in capturing your content ideas. So once you know what your feminine wants, let your masculine meet that desire. Let that masculine energy meet the need. Um Third thing I want to say here is stop trying to do it all in your head. If your intuitive downloads live only in your brain or your notes app, they'll die there, right? Create places for your ideas to go. So make yourself a content vault in Airtable or Google Sheets or Notion or wherever it is that you manage your content. Create a template for your launches of like email templates and Canva graphic templates and all of that. Maybe even like a visibility or connection menu. I do this with my clients all the time. I have them create a menu for themselves of actions to take to be visible, actions to take to connect with people for their business, depending on their energy. So they can look at this menu and choose, depending on what they're feeling that day, what actions to take. And even if they're doing just the low energy actions, like a few friend requests on Facebook or, you know, interacting in a couple of other people's comments, like not really creating anything on your own or going live for 10 minutes, right? Like those are such different energies, but you can still feel like you're moving the needle forward. Like you are putting in the work, you're putting in the effort to make your business successful and sustainable. So creating a menu for yourself. But for the love of God, don't keep it all in your head. Write it down. Like the brain is where all of that creativity and soul goes to die. So if you have a really cool idea, if you have a really creative download, capture it and find some way to come back to it. Like you don't want to just capture it and then let it go. You want to have a process for yourself to filter through all of those ideas, to revisit those ideas, because you definitely had them for a reason, right? And it may not even be an idea that you are going to use. It may be an idea for somebody else, for one of your clients, for a colleague, for a potential partnership, a collaboration. Like we need a place to revisit. So start with something super simple like a Google Doc, and then start to realize, okay, what system do I need to put in place to actually utilize all of these ideas that I come up with? And then the fourth thing is let the structure part of it be flexible. You don't need a military grade calendar. You don't need all of the fancy systems. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars on active campaign if your business isn't ready for that, right? Like you need a rhythm that feels like it was built for your nervous system. So meet yourself where you're at, meet your business where it's at, right? Think sacred scaffolding, not a jail cell. We're not trying to trap your creativity. We're trying to build a container that will allow your creativity to flow freely. So here's what I want to leave you with. You don't have to choose between being creative and being organized, right? It's not like those are two separate people. They're two separate energies, yes, but they can coexist. You don't have to choose between flow and follow through. You don't have to choose between soul and systems. When your structures are built, when your systems are built from love, from self-compassion, not fear, not pressure, it becomes this like sacred gift. It becomes a space for you to feel held, right? A deep breath. It becomes that devotional act to the part of you that wants to be expressed fully. And so let your masculine serve your feminine. That's what they're there for, right? Let your systems serve your soul. Let your systems be the container that holds your wildness. Let your structure set your magic free. If this conversation stirred something in you, I have a free resource that I want to share with all of you called the Visibility Roadmap. And it's a free resource that teaches you the exact structures I use inside of my business to hold my creative energy. And it is one of my favorite free resources that I've created, honestly. And if you're craving a space where you want to start building sacred systems that work with your intuition, that work with your creative flow, not against it, I would love to have you inside of my CEO Systems membership. It was built for this. And I do this work a lot with my one-on-one clients as well. So if you're looking for more one-on-one support, I do have some openings this summer for one-on-one support. Until next time, keep listening to your body. Keep creating from your truth. You are allowed to be both wild and free and held at the same time. All right. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If this was helpful for you, subscribe to the show to make sure you're always in the loop when a new episode is out. And I would love to invite you to join me in the free Visibility and Tech Support for Coaches community, where we hang out and chat about all things visibility, tech, systems, and heart-centered business building. I regularly share tips and tutorials and go live every now and then, and it's just nice to be in a community with other like-minded coaches and healers. So you can join this free space at alignwellco.com/community, and I can't wait to see you there.